Hi there, I'm Sylvia Plester-Silk, and 10 Minutes to Joy is your weekly invitation to reset, recharge, and rediscover your most joyful self through aha moments and simple energy techniques. Today, we're talking about being held back in our truth. Hi, I'm Sylvia Plester-Silk, and I'm your host. Sometimes in childhood, we have experiences that live with us for many, many years. When I was about 6 years old, my one older sister was getting married, and we were hosting a wedding shower at a particular hall in the small town that I grew up in, or grew up near actually. And my family was decorating for this event and needed more tape. I was a very shy child, very anxious, and they asked me to go up and get this tape. And so I decided to be bold and to be brave and do this. I managed to find my way there. For those of you who know me know that I don't have an internal sense of direction. I purchased the tape and coming back so proud of my breakthrough, I found the hall. The only thing is, the hall was locked and my entire family had left. I immediately started crying, upset. I thought I had been abandoned and I didn't have any way to contact my family because this was long before cell phones existed. And I stood there on the side of the road crying, not knowing what would happen. A few moments later, probably, and it may have been moments, it may have been minutes, my family picked me up in the car. They began to laugh at me and make fun of me for being upset. How could I be so stupid to believe they wouldn't come and get me? For years, I've worked on this memory. I've worked on the part of it about me uh, making a big deal out of nothing, about being hurt, about the abandonment piece. And recently, I had another breakthrough on this memory because it just kept coming back and I kept thinking about it. And I asked myself, what is it that I'm not getting about this memory? What is the pattern here that I'm not seeing? And what I recently recognized was in the time that they were gaslighting me about my experience, telling me I was being ridiculous and I was overreacting and laughing at me for being so ridiculous and over dramatic, I realized that I quelled my inner spirit. I quelled the part of myself and smothered her. I no longer believed that my truth was real. So, up until I'm 60, I've been struggling with really owning my truth, standing in my truth, and sharing my truth because I have a deep down belief, or had in the past tense, a deep down belief that I didn't have a valid truth within me. Today, I'm here on my podcast to share with you I do have a valid truth. I am so incredibly grateful of the tools and techniques that I've learned over the years so that as I got this awareness, I could go in and do some inner child work with some deep self-compassion to reclaim my inner 6-year-old and her brilliance and she was such a sparkling light. I look at a picture of myself as an infant, and there's a sparkle in my eye. There's a life, there's a vibrance in my eye that on that day, as a 6-year-old, I smothered because I didn't want to be humiliated. Let us talk about patterns. This is how small events, and I'm not minimizing the event to me, impact us. And we go on and we live and we survive and we cope, often Sometimes not remembering that there was an event or what the event was, or thinking the event was so small or so minimal that it wouldn't have impact. It was no big deal. It was just a memory I had. Um, so when we go into that space of questioning ourselves or making it less than it really is, we may have a pattern stuck in there that we need some help to go forward. And with patterns, there's different ways of doing it, like I did this morning, actually, going through and having this recognition come as I did my journaling. So, all of you out there that don't believe in journaling, it's been an incredible technique for me. And I will nag people and continue to nag people to get a journal. And the other way is I can't speak my truth and going into the pattern from that angle. So when I try and speak my truth, what comes up? So I'm going to be nakedly honest with you here. As I've been putting out this podcast, it's been a challenge because part of me is like, do I have anything that people really want to hear? And I get told by people close to me that yes, I do. I get told that, and I'm like, but up until today, I have held myself back thinking I didn't have a valid truth. So when I recognized that this pattern was playing out in the here and now, and it's been playing out in how I've shown up in this podcast, I went into and I found where the physical sensation was happening in my own body, and it was my heart. My heart felt like this big, heavy blob. And as I went into my heart with feeling love and compassion for this little 6-year-old girl that had been humiliated because she'd been abandoned where she didn't know and where she was really frightened instead of being honored for her emotions. And so I parented my inner child by letting her know that I loved her and I was so sorry that she had this experience. And I recognized what she came to believe about herself as a truth. And in doing that, my little 6-year-old came alive this morning. She felt her vibrancy again. I feel her vibrancy again. I feel this excitement. I feel this clarity that I have things that people want to hear and need to hear. So if you are listening and you have a similar pattern where you're really questioning your brilliance, maybe look for an earlier pattern. And sometimes these patterns show up from this lifetime, and sometimes they show up from a past lifetime. I've given you a way in brief this morning to go in and find it in your physical body as a physical sensation. You can ask that physical sensation what age it happened. You can ask that child of 6 or whatever age it is for you, what are you feeling? And honor those feelings very, very deeply from a deep, deep place of compassion. And we can heal. And sometimes doing this on our own isn't enough, and we need someone else to be able to be our witness and to help us because it's such a painful experience. And that's okay too. The goal here is for us to find our sovereignty, our truth within, and to share our truth from a deep place of knowing that we have value. Because I have value and you have value. And our world needs our value to come out right now and shine a light so that the things that are happening on the political, economic atmosphere can be shifted and changed with love, compassion, and joy. Another way to change the patterns is to look at my master patterns chapter in my book, Healing is Possible. Again, it is available on your local Amazon across the world. So get your copy today if you're interested. The companion journal is also an excellent resource to go with it. You can get the book as an ebook if you prefer, or as a paperback. And the journal only comes in paperback form because obviously it's intended for you to write in and get some of these insights and learn about your own patterns so that you can shift them. Thank you for listening to my story today. And I hope in me sharing my, as I call it, naked truth, I give you permission to believe a little more deeply in yourself, to find some of those patterns that can be released so that you have freedom and joy in your life. That's all for today. Remember, your past doesn't need to define your future. You get to choose. Keep moving forward, and I'll see you next week on 10 Minutes to Joy.